They tell you that if you love her hard enough, she'll stay. That if you're honest, consistent, and attentive, she'll finally see how good you are. But here's the brutal truth: women don't fall for good men because they're good. They fall for men who don't flinch, men who make them earn proximity. You've been trained like a dog to believe that affection is currency, and if you give enough of it, you'll be rich in love. But all this time, you've been digging your own emotional grave with every text she doesn't respond to, every anxious double message, every time you told her, just wanted to make sure you're okay. That wasn't kindness. That was desperation wrapped in fake compassion, and she smelled it, because she always does. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to flip the dynamic. Stop bleeding value, and become the kind of man she quietly obsesses over while pretending she doesn't care. You've been taught to chase her validation like it's gold. But here's the core concept. Validation is a drug, and every time you reach for it, you tell her you're weak enough to need it. That's not attractive. That's repulsive. Not because women are cruel, but because neediness short-circuits desire. Think about it if she knows you'll show up every time she snaps her fingers. Where's the mystery? Where's the chase? Attraction is not built on logic. It's built on psychological imbalance-controlled chaos. And the moment you hand over your dignity for her approval, the scale tips permanently. Imagine this: a guy walks into a room, doesn't scan for approval, doesn't try to charm, doesn't even look around to see who's watching. He's calm, still, and silent. The woman next to him can't explain it, but something about him feels heavier, rooted, like he knows something no one else does. That's the man she fixates on. That's the man who doesn't even need to speak to seduce. Now flip the image. Picture a guy fidgeting with his shirt, checking his phone, laughing too loud. He wants to be liked. He's trying, and the trying is killing him. Women might talk to him, even flirt with him. But underneath, there's no tension, no resistance, because the game is over before it even starts. She already won. And here's the mistake you keep making you think. Proving your worth means giving more effort, more affection, more time. But you don't prove your worth by offering it. You prove it by withholding it strategically. That's how nature works. We chase what evades us. We crave what doesn't need us. If she knows exactly where she stands with you, she stops standing at all. You've been brainwashed into believing that being emotionally available is noble. But here's the truth. Premature vulnerability is self-sabotage. Telling her your feelings too soon is like handing her the map to your fortress with a note that says, "Please don't hurt me." She won't do it out of cruelty. She'll do it because she can. Because you invited her into a castle that no longer felt guarded. Do you know why she obsesses over the guy who left her on red? Not because he's rude, but because silence triggers something ancient. It mirrors her own self-doubt. It forces her to question her value. And when a woman is questioning her value, she can't stop thinking about the one who made her feel uncertain. That's what you need to become: not cruel, not dismissive, but unpredictable. Unavailable to her games? Not emotionally reckless, but emotionally expensive. But here's the hard part. This only works when it's real. You can't fake indifference. You can't pretend to stop chasing validation. She'll spot the performance in seconds. The only way out is total withdrawal. You have to stop needing her praise, her approval, her attention. You have to become a man who validates himself so ruthlessly that no compliment she offers can move you, and no insult she hurls can shake you. So here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Don't initiate anything. No texts, no calls, no checking her story, no liking her photos. Let the silence speak louder than any words you could type. And when your fingers itch to break the pattern, remember this: that itch is weakness leaving your body. Every second you stay still is a second you reclaim power. Because here's the final truth. The man who doesn't chase validation creates it. She can't help but want what he withholds. She can't help but seek the gaze that isn't offered freely. In a world of men trying to be chosen, you become unforgettable when you choose yourself first. You think silence is enough, but it's just the opening move. Once you remove your need to be seen, you have to replace the empty space with something heavier, self-stature. Not swagger, not alpha posturing. A quiet gravity grown in the hours nobody watches. Picture the man who wakes before dawn. Not because a productivity guru said so, but because the darkness is the one place nobody asks for anything. He lifts iron, feels bone grind against steel, and reintroduces himself to pain without witnesses. He isn't sculpting a body to impress. He's constructing a reminder that he doesn't need applause to improve. When the sun rises, that private victory clings to him like scent. Women sense it before he speaks a presence that hints at discipline deeper than charm. Contrast that with the guy rehearsing punchlines in the mirror before a date. He's manufacturing charisma, hoping manufactured jokes will buy attention. But performance crumbles under the slightest glare. One badly timed silence and he panics. You've lived that panic, the sudden scramble to fill dead air with useless words. In that scramble, you leak your true addiction, external reassurance. The moment she sees the desperation, her attraction fractures. Not because you're evil or weak, but because survival screams that a man who needs praise cannot protect. Instinct overrides intellect. She withdraws. So you counter by flooding her with proof you're different. You volunteer emotional backstory, tragedies you haven't processed, opinions you haven't earned. You call it vulnerability. It's actually emotional foreclosure, selling your future mystery for a shot of present sympathy. Remember the last time you overshared? You felt lighter for a heartbeat than strangely hollow. That hollow was your value evaporating in real time. She smiled kindly, but the electricity died, and you both pretended not to notice. Here's the correction: hold your story like a sealed letter. Reveal paragraphs only when her consistency earns each line. That restraint is not manipulation, it's respect for your own narrative. If she walks away because you hesitate to open the vault on day 2, let her go. A woman offended by boundaries would have destroyed them eventually. Better she forfeits early. Your worth doesn't shrink when she exits, it concentrates. But maybe you fear being labeled cold. Understand this warmth means nothing when it's universal. The sun touches everyone. Nobody feels special beneath it. Real magnetism is selective heat. When you choose who receives it, temperature spikes. She leans closer, chilled by your composure, craving the burn you give sparingly. And the moment she earns a flame, she guards it like treasure, afraid a single misstep will plunge her back into frost. You'll know the dynamic has flipped the night she texts. Are you free tomorrow? The old you would reply in seconds, calendar wide open. The new you pauses because you genuinely have things to do. Projects, training, silence, you answer when convenient, not calculated, because your life beats louder than her ringtone. She feels the difference. You're not delaying to play games. You're busy winning one she can't see. That authenticity drives her mad in the best way. Still, expect tests. She'll joke about other guys, probe your insecurities, praise you, then retract it to watch you squirm. Don't retaliate, don't explain, don't seek reassurance. Let the comment float, unanswered, like a feather hitting stone. Internally you think, interesting move. Externally you sip your drink. The test fizzles. She sees a mirror instead of an emotional trampoline, and her respect spikes because she cannot warp your reflection. Tonight, before sleep, perform a final ritual, review your day, and tally every moment you demanded validation. The laugh thrown too loud, the story exaggerated, the needy text drafted and deleted. Write them down. Then in bold ink mark debt repaid tomorrow in silence. Each night shrink the list. In a week, the ledger will be near zero, and you'll wake with a strange calm and inner hush that roars louder than compliments ever did. Eventually, you'll notice something bizarre happening. Women start to orbit you without knowing why. Not because you've become more charming, but because you've stopped leaking energy. Your silence becomes a gravitational pull. They feel it before you enter the room. It's in your posture, your stillness, your refusal to overexpress. You're no longer playing the game of being chosen. You are the room. And now they're trying to qualify themselves for you. It's subtle at first. A delayed compliment. A glance held a little too long. A question meant to pry into your mystery. But don't break. Don't reward curiosity with instant disclosure. Let her stew in uncertainty. Let her imagination do the heavy lifting. The less she knows, the more she fills in the blanks. And her own mind will do what no script or pickup line ever could. It will build a version of you that haunts her. Understand something primal: women aren't wired to fall for what's obvious. They fall for the puzzle, the enigma, the man who triggers their instinct to decode. If you give her everything too soon, your emotions, your schedule, your intentions, she has no mystery left to solve. No reason to stay. She might respect you as a human, but she won't ache for you at night. This is not cruelty. This is rhythm. Push, then pause. Show glimpses, then disappear. Not to manipulate, but to create texture. A flat line doesn't excite. Tension and release does. That's music. That's sex. That's romance. Predictability is death, but it takes discipline. You'll want to cave. You'll want to prove to her that you're a safe guy, a real man, someone who won't hurt her. You'll want to say, I'm not like the others. But here's the bitter pill if you have to say you're different. You're not. Let her feel it through the way you carry yourself. Through the way you look her in the eye without blinking when she flirts with manipulation. Through the way you walk away mid-conversation if your peace is interrupted. Let your boundaries speak louder than your words. And when she pushes harder, because she will, you do something most men never dare: you withdraw completely. Not in anger, not to punish, but because your presence is earned, not distributed like candy. She asks why you've pulled back. You don't give a full answer. Just say, I don't explain myself. Not with arrogance, but with stillness. Because that's the moment it shifts. That's when the chase begins her chase. And you finally understand what you were doing wrong all along. You were auditioning. Trying to be picked. When the truth is, the man who knows his worth never enters a room hoping to be chosen. He enters as if he's already the prize and lets the world adjust. Now you're not chasing women. You're watching them reveal themselves to you. Some will crumble under your silence. Others will rise. The weak ones disappear. The strong lean in. That's how you filter the noise. That's how you separate lust from loyalty. Seduction from sincerity. Don't ever let your validation sit in someone else's hands again. Because the moment you make her fight for yours, you stop being her entertainment and start being her obsession. There's a reason kings don't beg for allegiance. They don't kneel to their subjects and ask, am I enough for you? They sit still, adorned not in gold but in presence, and the court bends around their silence. You must become that. Not because you were born powerful, but because you chose stillness over chaos. You chose not to explain. You chose not to chase. And in that choice, something inside you sharpens. Most men are addicted to reaction. She pulls away, they chase. She jokes about another guy, they argue. She gets quiet, they panic. All of it stems from one wound: the fear of not being enough. But here's what no one told you: when you make peace with that fear, when you look it in the eye and stop flinching, it loses its grip. Let her withdraw. Let her go silent. Let her play cold. If your frame is solid, she'll crack first. Because underneath every "I don't care" text is a question: do you still care? And the more she wonders, the deeper she spirals. But only if you don't flinch. Because the second you cave, double text, over-explain, beg for clarity, you snap the tension, and you teach her something dangerous: your validation is for sale. She'll never say it out loud, but she'll start treating you like a man who needs managing, not a man she respects. That's when the disrespect creeps in. Sarcasm where there was sweetness, distance where there was desire. She won't even know why, but you will. You handed over your power the moment you asked for hers. So you do the opposite. You speak less. You observe more. You let her reveal herself while you remain unmoved. And when she tests your silence with silence of her own, you don't interpret it as rejection, you treat it like a weather pattern. Unpredictable, meaningless. You don't beg the rain to stop you build shelter. Understand this, your self-worth must be a closed loop. It cannot rise or fall based on whether she smiles or replies or chooses you today. Her attention is a breeze. Your value is a mountain. The day she realizes she can't rattle you is the day she starts to fear losing you. And that fear is not a trick, it's nature. It's attraction's root system. Women don't fall for men who orbit. They fall for the sun. Distant, necessary, unbothered. So what do you do when she finally starts reaching out? Throwing you bait? Testing your stability? You stay the course. You don't punish. You don't reward. You live. You build. You create. You remain. And maybe, just maybe, you allow her back into your world not because she demanded it, but because she proved she could handle it. But even then, your silence remains sacred, your validation remains earned, and your presence remains the prize. Because the moment you stop chasing validation, you start becoming the man she was chasing all along.